Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Skylar. I'm so excited today to do the mid-year book freakout tag. So I saw a few other people on BookTube doing this tag recently and it looked like a lot of fun, so I decided I just had to do it this week. The first question on the tag was the best book you've read this year so far. And my answer has to be A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this first book. I'm halfway through the second book of the series and really enjoying it as well. But this first book just really opened my eyes to just such different writing and such different concepts that I'm used to. It really inspired me. I read this book really fast. It kept me on the edge of my seat, and it definitely has to be the best book if I had to pick one that I read this year so far. The next question is the best sequel that you've read this year so far. With no question at all, it has to be The Wicked King by Holly Black. This book I can't even tell you. So The Cruel Prince definitely did not win me over as far as this series. I was almost ready to give up on the series after reading The Cruel Prince. I thought it was just hard to get through. I hated how mean everyone was to the main character. I wasn't sure that I liked the world. Obviously, I was intrigued enough to keep reading, and I'm so glad that I did because this book completely won me over, and I read it so fast, and then I read the third book so fast. So there's no doubt in my mind that this is the best sequel that I have read this year. It completely hooked me into the series, and it's probably the reason why I love the series as much as I do. So this book, without a doubt, was the best sequel I have read this year, for sure. So the next question is a new release that you want to read but have not read yet. And that has to be Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. I've talked about this book quite a bit now because I did an Owlcrate unboxing that included it, and also I've talked about how badly I do want to start reading it. And yeah, it's a new book and I haven't started it yet because I really decided to push through finishing a few books that I was in the middle of, but it is going to be the next book that I pick up. I cannot help myself. As soon as I finish the book that I'm currently on, that I literally only have a few chapters left of, I'm gonna pick up this book and immediately start reading it. I think it is so exciting. I did not know it was coming out like a lot of people did, but from all the buzz and hype around it and just how amazing it sounds, I'm so excited and so glad that I got it in my Owlcrate, and it is definitely the one that the newest release that I am most excited to read ASAP. So the next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And I have to say, there's not a lot of books that I really keep track of release dates on. Usually if I do, it's either because I'm already reading the series or it's because it's an author I really like. So in this case, I have to say, even though this is a bit strange because I have not read the first book yet, I'm very excited for the sequel to come out because I'm so excited to read the first book. I know that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but the book I'm referring to is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, and I'm really excited to read this book, and I'm really excited because I know that the sequel is coming out, as far as I know, sometime in August. So I feel like I'm just overall really excited about this book, this series, the fact that the second book is coming out soon. I just feel like I'm gonna love this. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like I'm gonna end up loving this book. So I'm super excited for the sequel to release. The next question is, what was the biggest disappointment so far of the year? And I have to say, unfortunately, the biggest disappointment for me was Huntress by Melinda Lo. I've talked about this book a bit as well because it's taken me a long time to get through it. Unfortunately, I did finish it and I didn't love it as much as I had hoped. The ending felt really rushed. It felt just like a bit of a letdown. There are some super interesting concepts that were never really explored and never really gotten into. I want to talk about this book more when I do my wrap up for the month of July, but unfortunately, I have to say it was my biggest disappointment of this year so far. The next prompt is the biggest surprise of the year, and I have to say that is The Forgotten Book by, I think it's Mechthild Glaser. I picked this book up on a whim. I was able to get a free book for my birthday from a bookstore that I really like. It's a fun thing they do. It was a used book. I couldn't decide on a book to get. I finally picked it up because it was the only book that was appealing to me at all, but I wasn't really sure that I would like this one that much. For me, this book actually was competing with A Darker Shade of Magic for the best book I've read so far this year, and I had to go with A Darker Shade of Magic because, I mean, V.E. Schwab is just amazing, but this book was so good. I was so blown away, so impressed. It was the first book I read this year, and it was such a surprise how much I loved it. So I'm really, really happy that I picked this up, and I'm really happy that I read it as the first book this year because it just really, I don't know, it was the perfect way to start my year of reading, was to read such a surprisingly amazing book. I loved the fairy tale vibes. I loved the dark, like, boarding school gothic kind of vibes. I even enjoyed the Pride and Prejudice references, even though I'm not a huge Pride and Prejudice fan. I just loved it. It was so good. I'd highly suggest it to anyone, and I really would like to pick up this author's other book. I know she has at least one other book, and I definitely would love to pick it up because I'm completely blown away by her writing style. The next question is favorite new author, and that can be just a debut to you and yourself, not actually a new author, and that also has to be the same author, Mechthild Glaser. I'm positive I'm probably butchering her name, which makes me feel so bad, because she's definitely my favorite author that is a debut to me this year. I just love her writing. I'm so inspired by it. I'm so excited to read more of her writing. She's definitely a new author that I'm going to be keeping my eye out for, a new one on my list of sort of like anything she writes, I will pick up to read because I'm just so incredibly impressed by her writing in this one book anyway, so definitely try anything else that comes out of hers. So the next prompt is, who is your newest fictional crush? And well, guys, I can't help it. I may have ordered a pillow with him on it because I just want him close to me. It's Cardan. I can't help it. I kind of hated him in the first book, but I mean, he's hot, so no, but like, yeah, Cardan he's such an asshole. But in the first book, he's horrible to Jude, and it makes me really mad, but yeah, I can't help it. I love his character. I love the development. I love his backstory. I think he's just really interesting. Honestly, I'd love to learn more about Cardan. The whole series made me so happy by the end of it. The rest was torture, but the ending made me so happy. But yeah, I can't help but love him. I got this pillow from LitJoy Crate. I don't know if they still have it available on their website right now, but it's real cute. I just loved the coloring and the gold and the way he's like holding the crown and everything. I don't know, guys. I don't know. You should get this pillow probably because it's amazing. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, honestly. But yeah, I'm just showing off a random book purchase because I can't help myself because I never showed it off. So here we are. I have a thing for Cardan. The next prompt is your newest favorite character. And I have to say, at this point in the year, it has to be Kel and Lila from A Darker Shade of Magic. And yes, I know that's two characters, but it just has to be them because they're both such cool characters, and I know they're connected in ways that I haven't figured out yet, and I'm really excited. So it just has to be them. I know that's cheating a bit, but both of them. If I had to pick one, I guess it would be Kel, but only because he's the first character that we meet. Lila is so intriguing to me. I might like change my mind. Maybe it's Lila. I don't know. That's why I have to choose both of them because they're both so interesting, and I cannot wait to find out where they're going and what happens. And part of me is kind of glad that I didn't read the series too fast because I'm glad that I get to be a part of that world for as long as possible. But yeah, I'm really excited, and they are definitely my favorite characters so far this year. So the next prompt is a book that made you cry. And the obvious answer for that one has to be We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. Nina LaCour is a favorite author of mine. She has been for a very long time. And I was so looking forward to reading this book. It's her newest book that is out, although it's been out for a couple years now, I believe. But she's one of those authors, I read anything she releases. Her writing means a lot to me, and I feel like there's always like a really big emotional journey in all of her books, and a lot of them are about self-discovery. and love and loss. And they just, yeah, her books just mean a lot to me. I knew this one would especially hit me hard because it is about a character who goes away to college in upstate New York. And I lived in upstate New York and went to college there for my last year and a half of college. And so I knew that that feeling of isolation, being in the snowy mountains of upstate New York, would really hit me hard because that was my experience in many ways. I felt very isolated. I was a transfer student. It was difficult. It was a very difficult year and a half. And I'm glad that I have the degree I have, and it was a good school to finish up my college experience with. But yeah, I knew this would hit me where it hurts, and it did. But it's an amazing book, and it was totally worth it, and I would suggest it to anyone. So the next prompt is a book that made you happy, and with no doubt in my mind, I immediately thought about Fangirl. I read this book this year for the first time. I really got into Rainbow Rowell for the first time this year, and this book just made me so happy. I feel like I was smiling for a lot of it. It did have some emotions. I can't remember if I cried reading this book or not. I might have. It definitely is an emotional roller coaster. But it also just, I don't know, it just made me so happy. There were so many moments in it that made me laugh, and that's what's most memorable. Just like thinking of this book makes me smile. So I have to say the one strongest emotion I feel thinking about this book is happiness. So the next prompt is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And the honest truth is, way too many, guys. I've talked a lot about all the books I want to read and how far behind I am on Owl Crate books. And honestly, I don't even know where to start listing. Like, it's too many. But if I had to choose like a couple of books, this is a series that I'm really determined to read by the end of the year, and that is to finish out the Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. So I still have Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King. I've talked about these in a previous video as well, at least one previous video, if not more. I need to read the last two books of the series. I read the first book at the end of last year. I read the second book at the beginning of this year, and I really want to finish this series. I feel like I waited so long to read it. It was so weird considering I'm a big YA fan and I'm a big Maggie Stiefvater fan. So honestly, it just feels bizarre that I haven't finished this series by now. So I definitely want to read these by the end of this year. Like I said, though, there are so many books that I want to read by the end of this year. So these are just the top of the pyramid. And the next prompt is my favorite book community member. So like, I assume that would mean like another booktuber or another bookstagrammer. I don't know. I'm gonna be that person. I can't answer that question. There are a lot of people that I really respect in this community that I really like. There was a previous tag that I did where I did list some like favorite new channels that I found, and those still hold true. There's a handful of older YouTubers that I still watch that are kind of the ones that I first found when I started looking into BookTube quite a few years back. But as it is, I can't pick a favorite. I just can't. It's too hard. I'm just really happy to be a part of this community. I'm still relatively new, so I'm still learning a lot and I'm still finding a lot of people. And at this point, mostly, I'm just really enjoying talking to people and getting to know the community better. So I don't really want to pick favorites, so I'm not going to. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. For me, it was a lot of fun. As soon as I saw the title of Mid-Year Freakout, I was like, oh yeah, that seems right for my life right about now. I feel like I'm having a mid-year freakout like in life. So talking about my mid-year freakout on my reading goals is, yeah, sounds about right. I'm a little behind on my overall reading goals, so I'm hoping I'm gonna catch up. I'm doing really well this month so far. Like, I am reading pretty fast, honestly, and that does make me really happy. I'm almost done another book, and then I have a new book, like I said. The one that I want to read next is a new book that is lined up, and I feel like I'm going to read that one fast because I'm excited to see what it's about. And then there's a few shorter, smaller books I want to read. I'm also reading a manga right now. Yeah, so I've got a lot going on, and I'm feeling actually pretty positive as far as my reading goes. Everything else in my life, I'm having a mid-year freak out about. Yeah. So thanks for watching this video. I hope some of these books maybe can serve as suggestions for you or give you some ideas of what you might like to read next. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment below and let me know if you've read any of these books, or if there's any other books that fit into any of these categories that you've read this year that you want to share with me. But yeah, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. I hope you might. And I will be back in next week with another video. Have a good rest of your week, guys. Bye.